Hello, my name is Enzo. Welcome to Coffee with Enzo. Today I have with me as a guest Isabelle Gagnon, who used to live in Quebec City and is now residing, I think, in Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. She is a health coach and a lifestyle educator, a certified lifestyle educator. We're going to find out what those are in just a minute. So Isabelle, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Enzo, and thank you for inviting me. This is pretty exciting.
My pleasure. So before anything else, what are you drinking? I have my cup of decaf.
Well, this is my favorite cup. As you can see, it's very Mexican.
Very colorful.
Las Cabo, very colorful. And I have my homemade bone broth. Salut.
Oh, you're drinking bone broth. Wow. How appropriate for the program.
Well, I'm actually developing a protocol for my new branding for a healing, nourishing detox for January. So This is part of it.
Why don't we start there? Tell us about the new branding. Before we go back, let's talk about the future then.
Well, it's very exciting because I started my practice in Mexico here in Los Cabos, actually in San Jose, which is one of two parts of Los Cabos. There's Cabo San Lucas and there's San Jose. And I'm in the San Jose part. So basically, I started my practice here 10 years ago. And it's been very evolutionary because you can just imagine starting a practice in a new country, not knowing the language, not knowing anybody. It's been evolutionary and progressive. And so Isabelle Lifestyle now has given birth to a new baby, a sub-branding called Nourish Me. And it's just been registered. So I'm very excited. And Nourish Me is nourish, which you know what that is. It's in English. Me, which is attached to it, is me in Spanish, which is M-I. So it's got a Latin component. Okay. And the I has a heart on it for Isabelle Lifestyle, Isabelle, and for French. And it's got a heart because it's my branding. So it's a 3-language branding because it represents my 3 languages and also my experience as a French Canadian who learned English and then subsequently Spanish and who practices in Los Cabos.
So tell me, what would make a Canadian want to move to Mexico? I mean, obviously for most of all the weather, but what, other than the weather, what brought you there? Tell us a little bit about the story.
I always tell Enzo people that Los Cabos chose me. That's a funny line. Anyways, when I was studying for my health coaching and my lifestyle certification, which was a 1-year course, I could do it at distance. So I decided to come for vacation to Los Cabos. So I had one friend that was working here, and he said, it's the only time you're not going to be, so-called working, first time in your life probably. Take a time, you can study from here. And so I booked 3 weeks. And when I arrived, it wasn't just the beauty of the environment, Enzo. I received a message. And of course, I didn't share this with anybody because they would have thought I was a little crazy. I received a message that I needed to be here to open a practice to help a country change their lifestyle. And I'm thinking, okay, Isa, really? You don't know anybody here, don't speak the language, like really? You really need a vacation. Yeah. But I kept receiving this message until such time as I saw one day in front of McDonald's, sitting on the ground, a beautiful Mexican that was very well endowed with her little boy beside her that was eating this, just imagine this most amazing juicy mango. I love mangoes here. We are very lucky. And so she's eating that, and then she proceeds to wash it down with a big bottle of Coca-Cola.
Oh my gosh.
And for me,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. And it's so striking. It's such the opposite of two worlds, like washing down this pure fruit of the God with what we call the worst toxic issue. So especially in Mexico. So I understood, and I took this message seriously, that I was supposed to be here to help a country change your lifestyle. So from 3 weeks, I spent 5 months to explore, you know, how I was going to do that and take the step, and the bridge will be there, of course. So I was sponsored with the chiropractor that I met there, went back to Canada, sold everything, told my family and friends I'm moving to Cabo to open my practice. And of course, they all said, what? You're going to do what? And I go, yeah. And it's funny, just to finish this story, and so over the years and still today, people tell me, it must have taken so much courage for you to move to a new country, not knowing anybody, studying a new business with a new language, with everything new, and as a single person. Especially here in Mexico, as a single woman, you don't see this very often. They're always in pack or in families. It's something, especially 10 years ago, I was really this really oddball. And I tell people, really, when you have grown to a certain point, it's just the next step. It really didn't feel scary. It was really normal for me. It was just that next step. So I pass this message on to people because we have a tendency to leave some of our wildest dreams hidden because we think, oh my God, if I could just imagine one day, but no, just there, just there. If you're in the flow and if you see the authenticity and you know that's what you're meant to do, it's just the next step. Could be a scary step, but it's just the next step.
So, from what I understand, your work is mostly with the local people. It's not for expats or Americans or Canadians that happen to be there. And you also work in conferences in hotels. Is that what I understand you do? So there's two?
Yes. There's more than two components. But first of all, this is another interesting thing. People always have an idea of what you should be doing, and you should be continuing with what you believe you should be doing. And people told me way back, you should be coaching expats and tourists. And I go, no. I am here to help the Mexican population. And
That's
10
very
years ago, is very, very ahead of my time because hardly people like you had people that walk and run, but there wasn't really wellness and so on. You didn't think about it, talk about it very much at the local level. But I had a vision. I knew that the Mexican population was going to be ready. It was just a matter of time. So I said, no. I'm going to open a practice primarily for Mexican. So that's my first component, which after 10 years, I'm really humble to say and excited that 95% of my practice is Mexican, the Mexican population and the local. I have a little bit of expats, but it's 95% local, which I've achieved that part. And I also have contracts with the resorts. So I do wellness sessions. There's specific resorts that are high season that I do one session a week. So tourists come and it's one of the activities, and I do my 1 hour, very small tips. And then I experimented not by coincidence, by synchronicity. I know a hotel 5 years ago asked me, they had heard from me, we have this 300-person group that wants 1 hour and a half of wellness. And we've heard about you, we've heard good things, would you do it? And I go, sure, I would love to do it. And then I hung up and I go, oh my God, I've never done more than 25 to 50. This is like 300 easy. Like, this is huge. But again, I knew that this is part of what I was supposed to do. And because of my background in finances, I spent 25 years in banking. My last 10 were spent in insurance, in investments. I know the background of the heavy cost of group benefits for corporations. So to talk to a group about the impact of the cost impact, both financially and time-wise and value of that on an healthy employee. So this makes me very uniquely equipped, if I can use the expression, to really pass the message from an understanding standpoint, a very deep understanding. So my first group that I did, the 300-person group, it was so exciting because I was very, well, we always are a bit scared when we get on the stage, but as soon as I got on the stage and my PowerPoint was there, I understood what it is when you're in the flow, when you're in your truth, when you're in your element, it's like you're in a conduit. You become a conduit to a source of information that comes and flows. It was such a big aha moment for me and a game changer. And then you connect with the crowd in a very different way, which I can understand the famous people that are singers and so on, the high that they have. When you're connected,
Yeah.
and then you connect with the crowd, you're in that bubble, and it's absolutely amazing.
It's like
so
a high. It's like a personal high.
I can understand the high that they have, and it's a healthy high. It's not an ego high. It's really about a two-way street connection.
It's connection.
With a vibration. It's connection at a level that is really, really cool. And after, of course, the general manager that was in charge of this came to me, gave me a hug, and said, "Wow, you're the first person that really get to what we wanted." Because I always studied the nature of a business to connect the tips with their activities. It's very important. So with that, they flew me to Cancun to do two more the next year.
Nice.
Then I did another one. And then I did another one with another big company. So because I am not known abroad, I am known here in Los Cabos after 10 years. I'm at the point now with my new branding that I'm going to be doing little videos that the resorts will attach to their website that I can explain to a group or company looking in why having an hour of wellness as an activity for their top salespeople that are rewarded, why would it be of such value, not only for them as a corporation, but for the employee that they're wanting to reward? What a gift.
So two levels of connecting, locals and business groups.
And one more thing before we leave the corporate wellness, if I may, and so sorry to interrupt you. One of my goals, I understood, we're all given a responsibility in this world. And I understood not too long ago, my responsibility is to, I was given a voice. I wish it would have been a voice to sing, because I love singing, but I wasn't given that voice. But I understood that I was given a voice to pass a very specific message in a very different way, my own way. We all have a different way of doing things. And I understand that this needs to be passed at a large level. So for me to speak to groups, it's like speaking to a little town. It's like speaking to 300 people has a much faster and bigger impact than a one-on-one, because I still have my one-on-one practice that I really value and love. But to speak to 300 people, really they go back home, and it's like, this is how you help changing the world, is really by speaking to little masses and eventually big masses.
Excellent. So I just had this idea to try something with you. I want to say a few single words. Give me your take on that word. So I'm going to have 4 of them. So the first one I'm going to ask you about, and they can be as short or as long as you want. First one is going to be vegetarianism.
Well, it's interesting because people have a perception that I'm a vegetarian. They think that nutritionist by design is related to plant and pureness. And so, no, I'm not a vegetarian. First of all, I'm 3/4 vegetarian, plant-based, and then fish and organic eggs and so on. So I'm a mixture.
Okay.
The reason why I don't profess vegetarianism is because it's something people need to discover for themselves. And also because 80% of the population are not extremists. The overweight, overwhelmed, and unhealthy, but they don't know it yet. They are bombarded by information. They're totally confused. And to start to make changes in an extreme way it's downright scary for them. Mm-hmm. And veganism and vegetarian doesn't mean healthy. And as we know, not all vegetarians and vegan are healthy. You really need to have a balance. Now, thank God for them, because they have a great impact on the increased awareness of people in needing to eat more plant-based. And I totally support that. My philosophy in my practice is, as avocado, the famous raw food is, his name is Avocado.
David Avocado Wolf.
Thank you very much. And I love what he said years ago. And I'm of that belief that if you get to 51% plant-based, okay, half your plate, if you learn to put half your plate at every meal with veggies, you're going to increase your health in a drastic way, in a dramatic, positive way, and your weight as well. So my people that I coach, the people that I coach, I go, okay, we'll get to 51, which they go really fast. From that point, it's their own decision, be it spiritual, personal, whatever it is, to go to vegan, to go to vegetarian. I have clients, Mexican clients that have become vegetarian and vegan. It was their own journey.
Mm.
And so I'm very flexible this way because I have discovered over the years, and that's why a lot of people like my approach, is I don't believe in 100% of anything because it is not sustainable and maintainable. And small daily steps, sustain and maintain, produce outstanding results over time. And
Yes.
that's more important than quick and regain. So slow and maintain is much better than quick and regain.
Yeah, because when you do something too quick, you always fall back. The next word is veganism. Now, you touched on it, but let's go maybe in the direction of education. Like, for example, you were saying maybe veganism can teach the masses something about, for example, how the food industry treats animals.
I love, again, that whole vegan philosophy. I've brought a lot of awareness about where your food comes from. And I'm forever grateful. And of course, part of my nutrition is I'm part vegan, part vegetarian, part pescatarian, whatever. I'm a mixture of a lot of things. So I have a great admiration for them. And actually, I'm from a Michael Pollan philosophy. So from the veganism is know where your food comes from. If you're going to eat animals, you want to make sure that they come from a place that you're sure that they are really treating animals well, that the whole process is done with all the respect. And so I love the awareness that they have had and the impact. And they have actually created a huge movement that a lot of the young generations now, from a not only spiritual but from a caring standpoint, I've chosen very early on, more than I've ever seen before, the amount of vegetarian and vegan young people because of the cruelty to animals. So that whole aspect I really, really love.
That's part of the information culture that we have. They get a lot of information so they can make quick decisions.
And I love that. And often they start, and some of them eventually become a little bit less vegan, a little bit of animal protein, but really are conscious of where it comes from. Where I have a little bit of a problem is the judgment. And I'm very vocal about it in a very loving and kind way. I believe in respect of people's choice. It doesn't matter what. My daughter has this great expression. Vanessa always lately says, "Don't judge love. Don't judge love. There's only two energies." So to hear vegans saying sometimes to others, like, you're this or you're bad or you're not a good conscience or you're cruel to be eating meat, is an outright judgment that is aggressive. And so if you preach that you're not going to be cruel to animals, why are you cruel to human beings? And for me, any type of extreme judgment, you can do whatever you want in your own person. But to attack people outwardly like this is aggressive. And for me, aggressiveness is connected to extremists like religion, which create war, which creates problems in the world. It is all correlated. So if whatever you choose your lifestyle to be respectful of other people's journey, because you never know. You could never judge a book by its cover.
Okay, and two more words. So, and I'll lead you on a little bit. So, organic. Now, a lot of people don't know if there's organic food in Mexico. Can you talk to us a little bit about organic food?
Well, actually, we have some of the biggest organic farms In
Really?
southern, yes, in Mexico, we produce. I forgot the percentage of the world's population of organic. Actually, 80% of what our organic local huertas, which are farm produced, are exported. We are a part of a big movement that wanting more and more people locally to consume, so that they bring the price down, and we get more of the share. But we have a lot of nice local organic markets now, because we have an ecosystem that is really our weather. Southern Baja is the most consistent weather, one of the most consistent weather in the ecosystem worldwide. It's pretty even, especially from November, which is typically our organic season, right up to May. And now, because of technology, our farmers are more and more educated, and we can stretch a little bit more with different techniques. And so, yes, we have wonderful organic farms, and in order to be part of our local organic markets, they have to be certified. There's an association or a body that needs to be certified. So we have an absolute abundance. We live in abundance from an organic standpoint here, and our season is much longer, I believe, than up north because of our perfect weather. Something interesting from a meat standpoint that I learned. I'm a big habit of learning, continuing education, and I am always plugged into webinars from some of the best functional medicine leaders that we have in North America. And from a meat standpoint, I learned that it's more important to have grass-fed and grass-finished than organic. And so, because normally grass, if you're going to be eating grass, there's not that big of an issue necessarily with pesticide and so on. But it's much more important to focus on the grass-fed and grass-finished, which I've learned. You could be having a cow that it grazed on grass, but is finished on grain to be growing faster.
Oh, I see.
So these are the differences. I'm very close contact with the farmers because of my love to educate and to help this country change. The issues that our farmers have outside in the country that produce some of the best local cheese and so on is the issue of water. So we're still a third world country from a development and enough infrastructure standpoint. But they're very conscious. The education is coming down quite fast. The permaculture and so on is something that they're very interested in.
And the last word is GMO.
Well, of course, we know that most of the corn crops are GMO produced, and so this is something that I educate a lot of people on. I often tell them it's unfortunate, but you're better to have a flour tortilla than a corn tortilla, unless you know that it's from a crop that is organic, which is very rare. It is a very, very big issue. GMO food for me it's a deal breaker as much as possible. It creates havoc in the system. It's not real food. And I'm a big proponent of real food and simple food and from the source.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, you mentioned Nourish Me. If people wanted to contact you, would it be through isabellelifestyle.com, I think it is? Or
yes, still because I'm in transition with the help of wonderful people to put this all together so people can contact on the new brand. But still, Isabelle Lifestyle, there's different ways. You can contact me through email with pleasure. My email address is isabelle.healthcoach@gmail.com. And my Instagram is iHealthCoach. I like Isabelle Health Coach all together. So you can always reach me also through social media, through my email, and I'm there to serve. So with pleasure.
Excellent. So thanks again so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Enzo. You too.
Bye-bye.